Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Rod, Twadwazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, JMals24, Unamento, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fiber Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neeland, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Do you know the actor James Nesbitt?
No.
No? You should probably just Google a picture of him. Do you know John Hannah?
No.
Both English actors.
No, I'm afraid not. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, they look identical to me, and yeah, but they're both pretty famous English actors.
You look like James Nesbitt, an English actor.
No, James Nesbitt. I think it's James Nesbitt and John Hannah look extremely the same because I was looking for like some movies of him, and then I got confused with that person. It was like, hey, these guys look exactly the same.
Okay.
And what's relevant about this?
Oh no! I was watching a show where a guy looked just like you, Nathan.
Scottish,
His
not English.
name.
Anyway,
Well, I wouldn't know the difference.
outrageous. Okay, I see him. Four Weddings guy. Yeah, I do know he is, yeah. From Four Weddings and a Funeral.
Okay, well, which one are you looking at, James
Hey, guys.
Nesbitt?
No, the other one.
Okay, now look at James Nesbitt, and they look identical.
Yes, indeed.
I was watching a new Showtime show, and you look exactly like Michael Shannon.
Me?
Yes,
Okay.
Michael Shannon. Look who that is. He's pretty famous.
I used to get told I look like Antonio Banderas when I was in college.
Look at Michael Shannon right now. Trust me, that's you. Where is he from? Oh, he's American. He's from Kentucky.
Yeah. Do you have trouble yesterday, Nathan, on your computer or something?
No, I had
Hi, by the
trouble
way.
with everything. So a tap broke, so we couldn't get it to turn off. And two heaters broke. On top of
Anything
over the
flood?
course of the last couple of months, I've had a dishwasher break, a tumble dryer break, and in the last week, a washing machine break. So within the last couple of months, I've just had massive amounts of outgoings, and yeah. And today, the guy came to fix one of the heaters, which he was successful in, or so he believes. We won't find out till the electricity turns on at 1 a.m. Managed to snap every leg on my hi-fi stand by moving about a 70-kilo glass and wood stand sideways. So obviously this thing wasn't moving an inch, but what he did manage to do was snap all the legs off it.
Bloody hell.
So it's been a crap couple of days, if I'm honest. A very, very, very expensive crap couple of days.
It's not that as well. It's when it happens to us all. Listen, it all comes at once, and finances are low, and you just think you just think the devil's on your shoulder. Like
that's how it's
thinking,
felt. Exactly. That's exactly how it felt. Because you like managed to scrape the bottom of the barrel and just keep going for this long, and then one after the next, white goods, and then white goods, and then more white goods, and then taps, and you're like, oh, it's all stressful stuff. Having no heating and water. You don't think it'll be stressful? I'd be all right. Put a coat on. No, it's not like that. Especially with 2 kids running around. So it's been absolutely miserable. Anyway, I won't moan.
Yeah. Everything is cold. Like the desk, you touch everything, everything's cold.
Everything's cold, and we had to turn the water off. So I was like, this is the pits. This is shit.
I had the same thing in that cold snap a few months ago. It was like -9 a few mornings, and our boiler packed in, and some of the pipes had frozen, and then they burst. So I had a leak in between the upstairs and downstairs, which has ruined all the wall and the plaster on the ceiling. And then I use a regular guy for my boiler, who's a friend of mine, but he was working away. He's pulled out, and every boiler repairman was busy because of the weather. So we was out without heating during that cold snap for about 3 or 4 days. We just had to get plug-in heaters and boiling water and hot water bottles, and it was a bloody nightmare. So I know how you feel, mate.
Yeah, well, it's been like that for about a week here, but only as a result of one of our heaters having been broken for several years, and it's just not bothering. We just turned up the single remaining heater. Well, that's what caused that to break, because it overloaded, because we're just trying to compensate for a broken heater. So he's come back in and just reset it. He took it to pieces and just went, no, there's nothing wrong with it. I was like, I saw sparks coming out of it. He's like, yeah, that's how the over-circuit protection works. I was like, what, with sparks flying out of it? It's like, yeah. I was like, okay, fine, if you say so. So he just reset it, put it back together after snapping all the legs on my hi-fi, and then looked at the other 1970s rad and went, this one is completely kaput. All the elements have gone in it, which you could replace, but it's so old, it'll probably just die as soon as you've done it. So it just needs replacing. So I'm like, great. So another £600 white good. She's like, oh, how many more £600 white goods? This one will come with a whole stack of bloody labour going along with it as well, from an electrician, which is expensive, unlike the other things which just slotted into place, right? Tumble dryer, not that big a deal. But radiators, and I had the same thing, right? Water pissing out the neighbour's wall with burst pipes, and then us with our broken water, and you're like, we haven't even got gas here. We've got gas heating, we've got electrical heating. So to have water problems, gas. You're like, oh, this is the kind of thing you think you'll leave behind if you don't have gas heating. Ugh. Anyway, it's been bloody miserable. There you go. That's why I didn't have a show yesterday. It just all became a bit too much, mentally and financially.
Did you see the Russians beat Tom Cruise to do a movie in space? I dropped a trailer in the chat yesterday, but it's called The Challenge.
Okay.
It's a Russian movie. They're supposedly filmed in space. First movie to be filmed in space.
Right. So what they've done, instead of saying eventually we'll reach the point where we'll have domesticated space travel, they've moved on to, well, we'll have fictional, yet filmed in the real location, space presented to you on TV. And there's a fictional space race, what, like there was in the 60s? I mean, this is a joke. It's just history repeating itself. So the current indoctrination idea is to give the newest generation a new space race, but the space race for the space fiction. You're like, wow, layer upon layer upon layer of nonsense.
Yeah, you could just get a hot water heater, electric hot water heater for real cheap, if it's just for heating up hot water showers and stuff.
Oh no, we got all that. It's all our shower's electric, so it doesn't make any difference to the shower, which is on a separate circuit. Other than having to turn the water off. So, you can't really run any heater or anything without water, which is currently how it is. It's all capped off and turned off.
You have a boiler then?
No.
Oh, no?
No, there's no boiler.
Is it an inline water heater?
Just a storage heater. It just takes electricity on a separate circuit that gives it electricity during the night when electricity's cheaper. And then over the day, it lets it out through the bricks. They're just like big bricks that just store heat, and then it just slowly lets it out throughout the day.
Sounds like some Tartarian fucking technology.
Just a heating element in a brick. very, very crude.
It's gonna be spring.
Yeah, can't come soon enough, I tell you.
How cold does it get over there?
Pretty cold.
We're at -9 this winter, which was
Mine
pretty
is
cold.
9. I'd kill myself. I'd just shoot myself up.
Yeah. Winters are miserable in this country, right? It's very, very, very dark, and it's very, very, very cold often. So yes, like
I
any
can just imagine
any
everyone
place.
everyone just turns into Edgar Allan Poe over there.
Well,
You
it
just
does
don't see
affect
anybody.
me
It's
actually.
it's always dark, so you get very little. Obviously between the equinoxes, you're getting less and less light, and then more and more light. Don't get me wrong, but for the most part, it's dark. So at the moment, I will do my thing in the morning. I normally do it in the kitchen because that's where the sun's coming through, and then by the time I've started my show, yes, that's the amount of daylight I'll get, because by the time I finish the show, it's dark. So I'm starting now, and you will say good morning to me, right? But by the time this show is
And it
finished,
gets
it is
dark?
nighttime here.
That is retarded.
Well, it's just you don't get much sunlight in winter here, so everyone gets a
It
bit
does
sad.
get you down. It
But
does
there we
get
go.
you down. Yeah, I get like that. I do. It does affects people more than others, but I really feel it. I do feel a little bit down, and because I'm getting up early to go to work and it's dark, and then I'm driving around a little bit in the day and doing jobs, and then the time I get home and have something to eat, and it's dark again. Then I'm going to bed. It's just like
No
you
wonder you
just
guys are so pale.
and then. But
Yeah.
now I can see now. You can see now that the as it's coming up towards spring, it's the sunrise is it's still a little bit chilly in the mornings, but you can feel it's coming, and you're just like, come on, baby.
Yeah, I've been looking for the daffodils with my kids, so I take them out for a walk, and what we do is go to certain spots, and we're like, when will the daffodils come? And then literally 2 days ago, we went out, and on the graveyard, there was daffodils coming through, and not only that, they had like a little prayer area, and in the prayer area they had these little pots with bulbs in them. But what they'd done is they'd instead of planting the bulbs, they'd just sort of nestled them in the soil 1/4 inch so that you could see the bulb developing. And it was just fantastic. I got to show my kids
Oh,
all just by coincidence. They were all at different stages. So from the very first, not doing anything bulb, all the way through to a flower growing out of the top of it, and then an actual flower growing out on the graveyard. So it's like, look, this is how it develops, and this is what it does, and you can see every stage of it. And it was just awesome. And it's like, spring's here, great! Finally seen daffodils coming through. Because that's, as far as I'm concerned, there's potentially one more cold snap. That's it. Then it's spring. That's what it says to
and
me.
then once you get your blossoms on the tree, and then all of a sudden it's lambing season, and there's lambs, then you know it's that's spring. Then it's there. That's
You know
brilliant.
what's weird about you guys? I didn't know that your houses aren't built to dispel heat. Is made to keep heat in, right? And
Absolutely.
over here,
So here I
over
have triple glazing, and everything's triple insulated. Everything's really thick walls. It's an apartment, but it's an unusual apartment in the respect that it's extremely well built with really thick concrete floors and ceilings. So it's quite well sound insulated and quite well heat insulated. But which is great, because even though obviously that I've got broken heaters, it's not. It's time to move out and go into a hotel time. That's because of the insulation. Plus we're on the middle floor, so there's people above and below heating up to a certain extent the rest of the room. That said, if you don't lose heat, you're not going to gain it either. Anyway, what I was going to say was, when you get to the summer, just one sec. When you get to the summer, that has a very profound effect on the heat inside the buildings in the UK. We don't have air conditioning here, or we do, but very, very few people. My parents, who are rich, have air conditioning. I do not, and most people do not have air conditioning. But when you get to a summer, especially the one that just passed, it's 40 degrees outside, and it's 45 degrees inside. It's so hot that you can't think inside a UK house if it's a hot summer, because they're so well insulated.
I was just about to say that.
Nuts.
Our averages here are like 43 degrees in the summer. When in June, it really gets up to 43 degrees, and I'll show you videos of that when it happens, guys.
My wife goes mad at me. I'm actually a refrigeration engineer, but I can install sort of small air conditioning units as well. I had an air conditioning unit in the garage, and it's been there in the house we're in now. I've had it in the garage for 3 years, it's a ducted system. So what you do, you fit it in the loft. You take your loft hatch and you fit it in the loft, and then you put flexi ducts into the bedrooms, and then you have a condensing unit outside, and that's piped up and all that. Anyway, because the hatch in my loft is very small, it won't just fit straight into the loft area. So I either have to dismantle the air handling unit and then rebuild it in the loft, or get the loft hatch cut out and make it larger. So I've been promising to do this for the last 3 years. But in summertime, because of my job and refrigeration, I am so busy because the refrigeration is busy in that time because it's hot and they're all working harder and there's more breakdowns. I'm doing 17-hour days sometimes in the summertime. So I don't have the time to do it in the summer. And I always say to them, listen, I'll get it done in the winter when we're quiet and then it's ready for next year. But then the heat goes and it's cool and you're not thinking about air conditioning, and the air conditioning unit's still in the garage and it's still there to this day. And she keeps, you're an air conditioning engineer and you're still in the garage. You need to sort this out. It's just a laugh, really.
It's because even
Hey, one deck.
it's not
Do
worth
you
it.
do mini splits?
It's just not worth it because here in the UK, for the 1 or 2 days that it's unbearable, there's another 70 days of summer that are just average. So it's just not worth it. I had an air conditioning portable, all-in-one unit that you had to put the pipe out the window. And yeah, it was fine. And on the days, and it was, you could count them on one hand, days that it was used, the room was cooler. But it was unbearably noisy, it was incredibly inefficient. And for the majority of the time, it's just a big box in the way. Now, don't get me wrong, if you've got one in the loft and it's just there ready to be turned on, in the UK, you probably only turn it on 5 times a year.
That's it. But it was
will be
hotter this year, wasn't
unbearable
it?
without air conditioning in my house. But one deck, you do air conditioning. Do you install the mini split system? You ever heard of that?
I have done. Yeah. Like but the reason I got the ducted
Clever.
unit, the reason I got the ducted unit was because I wanted to do all the rooms rather than have a split unit in each room, like a wall-mounted unit that's visual. Sometimes it can look a bit ugly, and then you've got trunking for the pipework on your wall going up through. So I just wanted to not see all that, and that's why I've got this ducted unit. But yeah, I have installed the split units. Yeah.
Got to come up to the States and work with me and my brother. He installs a mini split. You don't see nothing. Nice. Everything's neat. Even if it goes outside and down the wall, it's got a plastic covering, so you don't see the ugly piping. I'm talking, Gene.
Nice.
I'm done right now, though.
Yeah, I swore you were talking. Yeah, I was trying to hear what you were saying. What about, how do you hide them?
They have this.
You're definitely talking.
You put the. Are you talking about the outside or inside?
You said
hide them
you
both.
put them in the wall?
Yeah, it goes in the wall, and it just looks like one grill. Nice flat against the wall, and there's no sound because the unit's way outside, and it's very quiet. So all you get is cold air. You don't get that loud when the air conditioner starts. You hear it, and you know it. Nope, you don't get that with the mini splits. It's very, very quiet.
Nice.
I think is the air handler. It can be put in the closet or in the attic, and that can be away from the living quarters.
Outside.
And then outside you have a furnace unit.
No, you put it outside. We put it all the way outside and run the piping along the building. Like I said, the piping goes along the building, but then you cap it. Put a nice capping on it so it doesn't look like pipe. I mean, I've seen some jobs. The Chinese do it that way. They just run their piping and they don't cover it. It looks disgusting. But yeah, very quiet and efficient.
The Chinese do all sorts of stuff, man. They wire stuff like in the middle of the air. They'll just splice 2 wires together and see what happens.
We got any flat earth videos? What are we gonna do today?
I don't know.
I posted Brian's Logic 2 suggestions in Master D.
Brian's Logic?
I discovered. Oh, sorry. I discovered a. Here, I'm going to share this clip. Let me find it. Sorry.
I didn't know what you
Brian's
said.
Logic. Brian's Logic put 2 videos that he said he could review. So I just went and got it and put it on today's show. So you have it for access. So you
Got
got
them,
two videos today if you want.
Brilliant, thank you. Got a new piece of software called IDA64. Not new, but new to me. And what I was doing when I was testing the computer before was you change the setting and then you run stressful software to see if it fails, which can take quite a long time. And Intel have got their own piece of software for stressing, but it's equally garbage. The actual stressing bit doesn't seem to stress the computer in the way I would want to do it. Anyway, this IDA64 piece of software, now that the computer's all working, I thought, all right, I'll do what I'd do or would have done 6 months ago when I first got it, had it all been stable, which is just, you know, dial it in really nicely, get it really low voltages for the most output and all the rest of it. So I did that, and admittedly, it's still tedious by most people's standards, sort of sitting in front of an hour worth of test and then changing something and then doing another hour worth of test. Most people would think that's tedious, but by comparison to 4 hours, which is how long it would take on Intel XTU, only to then make a change and then do another 4 hours of testing, you know, because I'm testing for long-term stability. Well, anyway, I rattled my way through that in about 3 days with IDA. It's about a $40 piece of software, and it would stress the computer once you made a change, and within an hour, so normally within 30 minutes to an hour, unless there was something severely wrong, and then it would be within 5 minutes, but within 30 minutes to an hour, it would fail, but not crash the computer, just crash the software, and put a big red flashing light on saying system instability. Wouldn't tell you what, but bearing in mind you should be only changing one thing as you're testing, right? So it can only be one thing that's gone wrong because you're only changing one thing. So that's what I did. I rattled through it. So now I'm sat here thinking, this computer's freaking ace. It's now absolutely 100% stable, dialed in, completely, you know, I couldn't be more confident in it. It's just a complete turnaround from how it's been for the last 6 months. To be from, oh my God, it's going to set on fire every time I run a show, to, well, look at it now. It's what's, I have a quick glance at the temperatures. Everything's in the 50s. You're like, perfectly normal. Great. GPU utilization, 32%. Perfectly normal. iGPU, I should say. It's just a normal computer now. Back to how it was on the old computer before it went wrong. Like, not caring about it. Happy, happy, happy man. And I can tell you're all keen to hear it.
No, that's great.
I'm keen.
The reason I'm telling you is it's one less thing to stress about, as Gene asked right at the beginning, of whether or not I was, you know, having a day off because of whatever. And it's like, well, no, I've got a load of crap on my plate at the moment, stressful stuff, things breaking. It's nice that literally, and I'm not even joking, what was it that went wrong? Oh yeah, the tap snapped. So just one sec. Middle of a sentence, hello. The tap snapped, and I was running like the last test. So what I'd done is I'd dialed in the RAM voltage, and then as a good measure of good practice, you just sort of lower the voltage, see if you can get it any lower, and then typically edge it back up to where you started, just to make sure you can't, you know, squeeze any more efficiency out of it. So that's what I was doing. It's like an extra test, just to see if you can squeeze a bit more out. And I'd edged it back up to where I'd started, and then was running a test that I already knew it would pass. So I'm like, well, this is good. This is a first. I know it'll pass this test. That's never happened before. So I'm running a test after edging up the voltage that I know it'll pass. And about an hour into the test, which is where you go, oh, I can just call it quits now. It's definitely passed. That was when, oh shit, water and disaster striking while the test's still running. So I ended up leaving the test running for another 40 minutes while me and my wife figured out how to stop the water in the bathroom without cutting off the entire water supply, which is what we had to do in the end, because it was just coming out and going down the drain, so it wasn't exactly causing a disaster, unlike my neighbour's disaster 2 days earlier, where it was pissing out the side of the building. Anyway, so I was on literally the last test that was sort of a fait accompli. It was always going to pass, or as far as I was concerned, it was going to pass, when another water-based disaster struck. So like, oh, well, at least the computer's out of the way, which means that for the first time in about, well, let's say 48 hours, while I'm sat here just talking to you, for any other YouTuber, this is the most stressful part of their day, right? You're starting your show, you're about to go live, everything's all set, you've got all your equipment set up, your lights are on, your camera's on, you've got your guests, you've got everything's ready. This should be the most stressful time. I haven't felt this relaxed in 48 hours. This is the most relaxed I've felt in 2 days. Why? Well, because I'm sat in front of a computer that isn't about to set on fire. Therefore, well, this is going through the motions, right? I've done so many shows that this is just, well, it's just, a walk in the park. By comparison to once I stop the show, the stress will start again. The actual stress of life will start and is much higher than the show stress. So my relaxing part of the day has actually become what is typically people's work day, right? Well, that's when I get to relax.
Working,
Anyway,
just
I'm
keep
done.
the show
Sorry,
going
Gene.
for 24 hours.
Say again?
Just keep the show going for 24 hours a day. You'll be all right.
Yeah, then the world around me would completely fall apart. It doesn't quite work like that. Just by how it works out, I have to remove myself from the stressful stuff temporarily to do the show, which inadvertently makes it less stressful to be doing the show. But it doesn't mean I can't just carry on. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. I do have to actually get back to the stressful stuff, which is annoying, but that's life.
I think you should treat yourself tonight. Get yourself a takeaway and a bottle of wine, and just have a good Friday night.
Takeaway? Are you joking? You have no idea how poor I am, do you? You think takeaways are something on the agenda? Nah. I had to have a financial meeting with my wife because the guy who fixed the computer wanted to go out for a curry, and I had to contemplate the awful possibility of actually having to pay money over for food that I know costs a lot less than I'm paying for, which for me is a very, very difficult thing to have to mull over, rather. So, yeah, no, we're not having takeaways in this family. Far from it. You're joking, right? No. I haven't got a pot to piss in. Takeaway. Oh, no. Not that I'm not happy. I'm not. I don't want you to make that give off the impression that means I'm in any way unhappy with life. No, I have chosen to be this way. I can think of all the wonderful things I've done with my kids. I don't know if it made it to recording or not, but we were talking earlier about going to see daffodils. Well, that's some of the things that I get to do. I'm poor, but that was an experience most people probably wouldn't care about if you went out and saw some flowers with your kids. Yeah. In the sun, as the sun was coming up right early in the morning with the sun and moon right on the horizon. It was absolutely spectacular. Nighttime on one side of us, daytime on the other. A little lesson about how flowers grow, and then seeing spring come in. It was a glorious experience that most people who are doing the 9 to 5 do not get to have. But they get a nicer car and they get heating that works and taps that don't break. I'd rather have the latter, even though I'm laughing about it and talking about how stressful it is. I'd rather have this life. I do object. Go on.
Why can't we have both?
I don't know, Neil,
What's the problem?
Given the choice, and it's a choice I decided to impose upon my family. Yeah, obviously with discussion with my wife, and one of the kids wasn't born at the time. It's a what do we want out of life? We can do the same as everybody else, Joe Normie, and just do the 9 to 5, and we'll have more money. We will be more comfortable, but we'll ship the kids off to school, never get to see them grow up. Then life will just whiz on by, and we'll have a bigger house that we have to clean. But beyond that, life will just disappear. Well, that's, to me, a waste. So I'd rather be money poor and time rich. That's exactly what I am. I say that. This is all a total lie. Do you know why? Because of YouTube. It's not true at all. All of my time gets dedicated to this. So even though I'm saying it, and in sentiment it's true, in reality it definitely isn't.
Hey, they interviewed this guy, billionaire guy, and they asked him what it was like to be, financially set the way he is. And he said, it's euphoric. He said, I just went outside and took a walk, and I can't explain to you what it's like having this amount of money. There's no stress. There's no, you don't have to worry about paying bills. That part is all taken care of. But he said it's euphoric to be able to just go anywhere he wants to go. And he's a guy that's really generous with his money, too. He has all different foundations that he started, orphanages and stuff. So all these people that say, oh, you're rich, you got problems, bull crap. Give me the money. Let me be the one to see how it goes.
Yeah, good for him. And I don't begrudge anybody who's like that. And when people say money doesn't buy you happiness, I always used to refer to the there's an Arnold Schwarzenegger type character in Simpsons, and when he's asked a similar question, and his answer is, the question is topped off with how do you sleep at night, and his answer is on a giant bed of money.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, listen, it's got to happen. You know what it is? I'm doing these delivery things, so I'm delivering to really, mansions. And I'm saying, why am I seeing all these things? And I got this little voice in my heart. I guess maybe I'm hearing my own voice, but it's said because you're gonna have one. So when I'm set, we're all set.
It's funny, like me, I've always done long hours, and I've held a job, and not that I'm not seeing my kids throughout the life, but in the early days with my younger daughter, I was working out of town for quite a lot, and I didn't spend as much time as I did with my second daughter. And looking back, I regret that a little bit, but at the time, I had to do it, because that's the system I'm living in. I had to earn the money. I had to go away and work long hours, and to a certain extent, I still do that now. I do have time with the family, but I would like more time. Yeah. So, yeah,
Exactly. The options are, moan and struggle to deal with your white goods problems, but have plenty of time with your kids, or work your ass off and then you can afford to buy a washing machine when the washing machine breaks, but you haven't got any time with your kids. And when you put those two things as black and white as they're not on the scale, I took one over the other and was like, yeah. So the downside to that is, like the last couple of days, when stuff starts to break, you really feel it. But that's just how it goes, isn't it? It's like, would I give up? Would I substitute the stress of dealing with water and electricity problems yesterday for not seeing my kids? I don't think I would. It's like, yeah, it's stressful. It's still stressful now and will be when the show ends. But still got my kids' smiling faces running around while the electrician was dealing with the heater. I was playing with my kids. It's like,
listen, some people don't have the money to call the electrician, even have that option to weigh out. I mean, just be grateful that you even have that option to weigh.
Exactly. That's exactly correct. Be grateful for small mercies in that regard, because when it comes to other people who are far worse off, I try to, exactly in a light of optimism, focus on the glass half full. We're actually very privileged. These are first world problems.
Hey, they did. Some people, they were going crazy during that, that 2-year lockdown, whatever it was, because they couldn't ship their kids off to school. I'm hearing these stories. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I
love having my kids around.
Yep, I heard them too. I was like, okay, so you're telling me how big a trouble it is for you to home ed your kid? Yeah, I was already home educating this kid, this one, the eldest one at the time. It was up for discussion when this was being talked about. One thing I do remember just reminded me talking about on a giant bed of money, the Arnold Schwarzenegger character in Simpsons, was when, I don't know if he is still governor, but during COVID, I remember seeing a clip of Arnold Schwarzenegger sat with a cigar in a jacuzzi, appealing to people how hard it was going to be being locked down. And I felt physically sick with him sat in his jacuzzi, telling the world how hard it's going to be. And we must all suffer this together. With you sat in your jacuzzi doing this. Do you not realise how distasteful this is? Clearly not. He might as well have said something to the effect of, "I've had to send all the servants home. It's terrible."
I sometimes find as well, I don't know why this is. I've always got a little bit of spare money for repairs and stuff like that, but a lot of the time I find that if something goes wrong for whatever reason, something always sort of turns up. I just need that money to get that or pay that off, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. And then somebody will phone me out the blue and say, "Lee," because I do a few little jobs for somebody else, like, and Lee, I've got a job for you if you're interested. If you want to do it, it's a weekend job. And I'm thinking, well, that will sort that problem out now. And they seem to come just at the right time, a lot of the time for me, and I think that's amazing. I don't know if it happens to anybody else, but it happens to me quite a lot.
Yes, it does.
Make hay while the sun is shining or some shit.
It happens to me as a result of being on YouTube. So often, as people will, on the opponent side, moan at, it's like, well, you'll do an appeal, and then people will help you. It's like, yeah, I will do an appeal and people will help me. But the fact that they do when I need them or need the money to do something is always, even before YouTube actually, thinking about it, things just came up. I remember leaving home and being very hard up. I was only 16 and going in with the last pennies I had to buy an out-of-date packet of hula hoops from the local shop. It was about 16 pence, marked down from 20. I bought these crisps, these hula hoops, and inside was a cross-shaped hula hoop in a polythene bag with a little open-out piece of cardboard. And inside it said, "You are the lucky winner of the hula hoop cross shape." I'm like, what the fuck? You've won $5,000. Back when it was a lot of money in 1996. And I was like, what? just dropped on my lap. Just almost as soon as I'd left home, I'd suddenly got $5,000. I got my first car and managed to pay the rent and, sort all my bills out. Fix the roof that one of my mates had destroyed. All these things just went away instantly with $5,000. But from a less than 20 pence packet of out of date hula hoops.
I've had it.
Yeah, but you had to go. But you had to go through hoops to get there.
That's brilliant. I've had it on. I've had it on lower scales as well. Like, I mean, I've got a work van, so sometimes there's crap all over it, and I tidy it up now and again. But things fall out your pockets, and there's pens and pads sometimes, and screwdrivers. Blah 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 blah. Sometimes I don't, for whatever reason, I think I've come out without my money or something like that, and I need to do something. I think, God, if I just had a couple of quid, or I just need £2 or £3, and then I'll just go in the back of my van where my tools are and have a shuffle around, and there's £2 coins.
What, for the fruity, like?
Pardon?
Nothing. I said for the fruity.
For the fruity?
Fruit machine.
No, but I mean, I've needed £2 or £3 sometimes, and it's just I've just have a shuffle around thinking, if I could just find £2 in this van or it's stuck behind the chair or down the side. I've pulled my van seats out where the jack is and the wheel thing, and there's £2 coins just staring at me in the face because I needed them.
Your wife's handbag, and there they were, just in her purse, sitting there.
Yeah, sounds like success is like a mindset, in my opinion. It seems I also hear the story very often, the opposite story. It's, the more money, more problem story, where it's like, okay, as soon as I get money, something breaks. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
you know what just happened? My parents sold an old truck I had, but in that truck I had like $1,000 audio system, brand new amplifiers, subwoofers, and what do you call it, like a double din deck, with an Apple screen and everything. And I really couldn't be bothered to go out there. They said, "Hey, they came for the truck." And I said, "Man, I couldn't even be bothered to go out to remove the stuff, like $1,000 worth of stuff in there." And I was like, fuck it. No, they just bought the truck.
Good.
But
nothing more annoying than somebody who's added something to a car to upgrade the car, and then they sell it and go, well, I'm going to take all the upgrades out. Well, what have you got left? A car with a load of holes in it and no stereo.
Yep, that's exactly it. So I couldn't be bothered to do it. I just said, fuck it, let them take it.
Good, because then they get the car with the upgraded stereo. They wouldn't upgrade the tyres on a car and then go, I'm selling it, so I'm going to take off the tyres. Like, what are you doing?
No, people do exactly that.
Oh, God. Often. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they'll switch it out with some shitty tires. They'll go get some used tires.
Wow. Make it appealing to sell.
That's the inherent value of the car. Right? I've upgraded the stereo. So therefore, better value for the car. Does it add any value? No. Does it make it more saleable? Yeah. Does it make it less saleable and less value if you remove it? Yeah, absolutely. But people do. They rip out all sorts of stuff from cars that are being sold. And you're like, well, I don't want it anymore because it's got no stereo. What you wanted to keep your Grand Sport stereo. Why did you put it in the car and sell it?
Yeah, this guy knew that he just came for the damn truck. They were going to take it to Mexico. It was going to go work on a farm somewhere, but he didn't know anything about the $1,000 sound system it had inside. So that's a nice bonus for him,
Absolutely, that's what you want on the farm, listening to your tunes. Sounds ace.
His neighbors are gonna hear him for sure.
Love it. I never did the whole car audio thing because I didn't want the car to rattle. Partly why I wanted a Lexus, because they're all soundproofed and they put a good stereo in as standard.
I got a Lexus. It's amazing. It has an airbag seats, man. Airbag seats.
Stereo, and it's just fantastic.
Am I not?
I used to go
Why
to
am
the...
I not surprised?
Go on. Sorry, go on.
Nathan. Nathan, why am I not surprised you don't want to hear the car rattle?
No, I don't like rattles. Yeah, I used to go to the trade shows when I was in the audio industry, and at the same shows they had the car audio. And I used to go around and sit in them, and some of them were reps that used to work like across both channels. Some of them would work for domestic audio, which was linked to studios, and then therefore linked to car audio. And you just see a regular familiar face, and you'd be like, "Oh right, can I have a go on your car?" As in the stereo. And you'd sit in and they'd tell you what it did and how it worked, and you'd be like, "Okay, very good, very good."
Hey, Nathan, what is...
Never thinking any of them were any good. The only thing they ever did, over and above a really good Lexus stereo in this instance, would be give you more bass. But then Lexus started adding subwoofers, and you're like, well, what does it offer? Just goes louder. That's all it does.
Yeah, what is that brand in the Lexus? Is a Kanashi? It's a outsourced premium sound system in the Lexus. It's a Japanese brand.
They've had Harman Kardon, and I think they've had Bose.
No, it's a Katashi or some Takanashi or something like that.
Nakamichi isn't necessarily.
Yeah, Nakamichi mine has.
Okazaki, is it?
You must not know the secret is when you have a shitty car, you're supposed to get a good stereo system so you can turn it up and not hear all the shit ticking and breaking on your car.
Yes,
that's the secret.
Exactly.
I remember back in the day when my work van, what we'd do then, I always had speakers lying around because I've always been into my music, like hi-fi speakers, and I'd get in my work van and I'd just think, right, I'd get into the wiring, pull the speaker out, get into the wiring and run some cable in, and then get this hi-fi speaker behind me van seat and tie wrap it in or screw it in so I could just play my music like using a high speaker just tied behind my head in my van, just playing.
That's a coming of age for every young man to wire their car up with crap speakers. That's a coming of age thing, really, in the US.
Oh, I did that too with that first car that I got with the hula hoop money. Stuck an absolutely god awful stereo in a bass tube in the back, like you got to do when you're a kid, right? It's just like you say, it's a rite of passage. With my tape deck and my boom tube.
I need another tape deck. I used to love them tape decks. I mean, I do the DJing, so I've got some Pioneer sort of mixing consoles at the moment. But when I started out mixing, we used to just use the pause buttons on a double cassette tape. We used to get like a song, and then we used to pause little bits and then record it onto the tape, and that's what we used to do. But
you're telling me you need a third deck?
One deck's all right for me.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, before I introduce who we are joined by, we have got Elvis giving us a happy Friday heart. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Now, we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Yeah, Super Bowl.
Yeah, get in there. Go on.
Good morning. Good morning.
What up?
Good morning. So the warm-up was not in the least bit flat Earth related. So in the pre-show, if you remember, you've just had to endure us talking about air conditioning units, computers, a whole raft of other stuff that probably won't interest
Rich
me.
people.
Again?
People with money as opposed to people without.
Oh, generally being poor. Yeah, generally being poor. So that's what we discussed in the pre-show. So it's not like
you're not. No, let's balance it out. You're time rich.
I'm time rich and cash poor. Smash the super chat to support this channel. Anyway, because of which, we're not going to necessarily muck around too much. We're going to go straight to the video that we're going to cover today after a couple of housekeeping questions. So, any evidence of the R value? That's Earth radius.
What's
That's
that?
That's the question we're asking, isn't it? And they can't seem to give us any evidence. It exists in the calculation and in the Earth curve calculators, but the geometric horizon is invisible even to them.
My brother said, "What's that?" when I told him. It's like, "What's that?" I never heard Earth radius. I didn't learn that in school. You're making it up.
Yeah, the evidence they give you is all obtained from flat Earth elevation angles and calculations, and then they just rejig it all into a circumference value using trickery and wizardry.
Yep. Okay, next.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
I'm not bothered how far away it is, to tell you the truth.
Let's try that one
According
more
to the
time.
school books, 93 million miles.
And the distance to the sun measurement for 93 million miles would be acquired by what, Neil?
That was the Venus thing.
You can use Venus. You can use Venus. When
Yeah,
it's
that's what they
the
did.
longest elongation.
Christian Huygens or something?
Brado Baggins.
R value.
How do you use Venus?
Well, we know when Venus is at its point of longest elongation, which is when it's basically, it will be at 90. It'll have a 90 degree. If you drew a line from Earth to Venus, Venus to the Sun, we use radar to work out that distance. We know the angle between the Sun and Venus, so it's a trigonometry from there, and we can find the distance to the Sun. Yeah.
Okay, the angle. How's that measured?
Sorry.
The angle you mentioned.
It's just the angle in from what we can see. It's just the angle between the Sun and the Venus in the sky. It's very easy. It's just a case of like pointing a telescope at the Sun, panning it across the Venus. You can measure that angle.
Try and step back one step.
There are other assumptions, though, aren't there?
What is an angle?
Angle. It's the measurement for the sort of separation between two lines, I guess.
What kind of lines?
You know what I mean.
What kind of lines?
Sorry?
What kind of lines?
Straight lines. Yeah,
not curved lines, then?
What do you mean? No, obviously not curved lines.
So it proves a flat Earth, then, these angle measurements.
How?
You can't get an elevation angle measurement for a curved surface.
No.
Just in the middle of answering you.
Can...
Excuse me. Did I not listen to every word you've just said?
Yeah, well, go ahead. Okay.
Don't need your permission. Shut up. Yeah, that proves a flat Earth. You can't get an elevation angle measurement from a curved surface.
It's not an elevation angle.
That's the second attempt. Excuse me, Triggered Fundy, who has... Excuse me, shut up.
I'm not
What part of stuttering wanker? Shut up.
To say,
Oi.
You've misunderstood what I'm saying.
Excuse me. I listened to you.
Okay.
Now we're getting to the part where your claim proves a flat Earth. This is the third attempt.
Because I'm not talking about elevation angles.
Stick yourself on mute.
Can I have a second to just recap?
Can you shut up? While I address what you've spouted, I listen to you. Now shut up.
No, word.
What's your malfunction? You haven't let me finish the sentence in 3 attempts, and you want to talk continually while I refute what you've said?
Go on.
I asked a question. What's your malfunction?
That's not to do with what I've just said. I said we were looking at the sky.
What is your malfunction? I haven't given you my response. I'm not inviting you to respond to what I've said and haven't managed to actually say in 3 attempts. I'm asking, given that I've made 3 attempts to refute what you've said and you haven't allowed me on 3 attempts, now you think it's your turn to still, even now. Shut up!
I just said go ahead.
You stupid retard. Shut up. Go on mute. What is your malfunction? This time it's rhetorical. Shut up. I will tell my audience what your malfunction is. You don't like me proving a flat plane with the angle acquisition that would require a flat baseline. You're still talking through me, you stupid globe-believing muppet. What is your problem?
Can you give me a second?
Can you shut up?
I'm not.
Look, you stuttering wanker. Now I've got to close the fucking line because this wanker who's got a globe belief literally cannot tolerate a single sentence in refutation of what he's claimed. He cannot shut up.
Aye, man.
Are you done, you stuttering, bumbling dickhead?
Do you want?
Do you understand what shut up means?
Bro,
stick yourself on mute.
This is the whole problem with what...
Right, let's just overcome this twat's argument. If you're measuring an angle, you're going to establish a horizontal. That's a baseline. Can't be done on a globe Earth. You need a flat Earth to acquire that angle. Do you understand?
I've just explained how you do it. It's not using angles on, like...
You said it was using angles. I listened to what you said. Now I'm going to interrupt you after you tell me that you will use angles to do this. Now you're saying I won't be using angles, you double-speaking clown.
I never said that. I never said that.
You're a stuttering clown is what you are. You said you were measuring angles. I heard.
Yes.
Yes! So when you turn around after I debunk it and point out you'll need a flat Earth for that, don't turn around and say, I'm not using angles, because you'll get shouted at by a flat earther and called a double-speaking clown. Do you comprehend? Because you've done nothing but interrupt every word I have just said.
Okay.
Not okay. While I'm talking, shut the hell up.
I haven't said anything rude to you.
You're talking through every single word I say.
Me.
You stuttering wanker. This is your last chance to shut the hell up.
Oh, great. You asked me a question.
I'm not. I'm refuting your claim of an acquisition of an angle that isn't possible if the surface doesn't give you a horizontal. That's a curved surface, and its inability to establish a flat baseline for an angle. There he goes again, ladies and gentlemen. You see that light flashing? We haven't had a fundy come for a while. Blood pressure's already through the roof. Why? Because he's still talking. See his light flashing? That's him talking through me while I am still talking to you, now the audience. Because he's not listening to a single word as he talks through every single word. There his light goes again, still talking through me now. As I open the line, you can hear him. Wanker! Shut up while I talk!
Shut the fuck up, dude, and let Nathan talk. God damn.
Shut up, bro. No one asked you.
I'm not asking, I'm telling you. You will shut up while I talk. Shout out to Godzilla37.
Oh. Sorry?
For the love of Christ, you do not need to mutter permission for me on my own show to talk and shout out a super chat. You need to shut up. Godzilla37 says, can't have gas pressure without a container. Can't have high blood pressure without a glober. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. This is less stressful than my last 48 hours, I can tell you that.
What? Okay, whatever. You can have gas pressure next to the vacuum space.
Sorry,
vacuum
the angle
space isn't a vacuum in the
angle.
In the
you just
space.
Proved Earth is flat. How do you acquire a horizontal baseline?
Literally,
you're still talking through me.
Does the complete
malfunction number 5.
Can you let me speak for 5 seconds?
Can you suck my cock for 5 minutes while you give me good eye contact?
Presenting what I've just been saying. You have completely misrepresented what I've said. If you listen to what I said for 5...
So I don't need to hear you bumbling about how I've misrepresented you. You acquired an elevation angle measurement to a star. That required a flat baseline, a flat Earth. You proved a flat Earth. We're not moving on to gas pressure simply because a super chatter has paid me to read it out. That's got sod all to do with your claim of an angle that just proved a flat Earth.
No, it doesn't prove a flat Earth whatsoever. We're talking about observations in the sky. It doesn't have to do with anything to do with the Earth. It doesn't have anything to do with it. You can take a flat Earth, you can take a round Earth, you will get the same observation. You asked, how do we measure the distance to the sun?
How do you measure an angle off a curved Earth?
No. How?
Yes. How do you, the one claiming this, measure an angle from a curved surface? You tell me.
The angular separation between two faraway objects.
And how did you acquire the angle in the first instance?
You can be in outer space. You can be in anywhere to measure the angular separation.
I heard you the first 5 times you made the claim. Then I pointed out that to acquire the angle required you establish a baseline. You haven't responded to me. You've just repeated the claim 5 times.
No, I haven't.
How do you establish a baseline off a curved surface?
It's got nothing to do with the shape of the Earth.
Stuttering wanker, it's got everything to do with it. You're measuring an angle. So you're going to establish a baseline to do so. You don't know what you're talking about, clearly, or you'd understand my question.
Okay, ask the question. You haven't.
What's a baseline?
Ask the question.
What is a baseline?
What are you asking? What a
baseline is? Are you deaf?
What?
A baseline is. 3rd time.
Baseline, underlying thing, whatever. Yeah.
So you don't know, in regards to measuring angles to stars, what a baseline is?
Okay.
No, that is a no, not an okay. It's a no. You don't know what you're talking about.
What?
Yeah, what? You don't know what a baseline is in respect to measuring angles to stars. You don't know what you are talking about.
Okay.
Not okay, clown show. You're amongst people who do know what a baseline is. You don't. You're a stuttering idiot who thinks you can come here and start telling me about globe proof with angle measurements to stars that prove Earth is flat.
I didn't say that was globe proof.
You're stuttering a lot. Look, stuttering idiot, you need to shut up while I talk. You proved the flat Earth. In order to measure this angle, you had to horizontally establish a baseline, not a curved line.
Listen to me. Listen, please, may I...
And you give me good eye contact while you are on your knees. That's what you will do. You understand? You proved a flat Earth, Fundy. It didn't prove that you can establish angle measurements to stars with curved surfaces.
Let me speak for 1 minute. 1 minute, Nathan. 1 minute, please.
You can respond to how you acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline. That's my question, having listened to your initial claim. You haven't responded to my rebuttal. So no, I won't listen to you endlessly talk through me. I'll point out to my audience that you're filibustering and rumpusing. My rebuttal to your claim won't stand. I'll just repeat that you proved a flat Earth when you established a horizontal baseline for this angle measurement to the stars. Now, you can either refute that rebuttal or you can get out.
Okay, I know you love to carry on saying things like, oh, gravity's not real. We use it in engineering every single day.
Like, dickhead, we're not talking about gravity. We're talking about angle measurements.
I know. I'm just saying...
You're just scattergunning and ignoring my refutation of your claim.
Okay.
Yeah, you claimed angles to stars. Shut up, D+. You claimed angles to stars. I refuted it with you talking through me non-stop. Ladies and gentlemen, you will see the guy's light flashing. That means he's talking while I am talking. Yeah, you can still hear me because I've got to shut my line down because I am in the middle of this sentence when he starts talking. Not unreasonable to shut him down because I'm in the middle of talking and he's decided he's going to talk straight through the middle of me. He has claimed angles to stars and that proves a flat Earth. That was his claim. That was my rebuttal. We are not moving on to gravity and engineering or sky vacuums. You will address my rebuttal.
What was your rebuttal? Say it.
You need a flat Earth for that angle.
No, you don't. It doesn't. We are not talking about the shape of the Earth All I was talking about was how you measure the distance to the sun. It has nothing to do with the shape of the ground like beneath you.
Yes, it does. When you acquired the angle, you established a horizontal baseline that can only be done with a flat Earth.
The angle, no, it's...
Needed a flat Earth!
May I speak?
You've spoken. I heard your response. It was a hand wave dismissal. And you told me that it had nothing to do with the very claim you were making. You were making this as a claim, Globe Believer. I've taken it apart and proved that your claim, with your angles you were claiming, proved a flat Earth, because you had to establish a horizontal baseline in order to measure them.
No, you don't. It is basic observation.
So just telling me it's basic observations, what's a baseline for the angle measurement? Stuttering idiot that's not listening to me. You don't know what a baseline is. I asked you to define it and you didn't do it because you don't know. You've made a claim about angle measurements and you don't know what a baseline is. Now your incessant talking through me won't stop the audience hearing me repeat this.
Require a flat Earth underneath you.
Okay. How do you establish a baseline for the angle measurement to the star?
Anything underneath you.
So just repeating over and over again that you don't need a flat Earth for that isn't telling me how you establish a baseline, the thing that I say you do need to measure an angle to a star and you do need a flat Earth for. Your hand wave dismissal is not working.
We know what the angle is.
He's just talking straight through me, the same thing over and over again. If he doesn't shut up and his verbal diarrhea doesn't end soon, he's going to have to be removed. Because he's not having a back and forth with me anymore. He's just verbal diarrhea through the top of me so he doesn't have to listen to me pointing out that the acquisition of the baseline proves Earth is flat. He's just hand-waved it 4 times and continually, and I do mean continually, talk through me so he doesn't have to listen to my response.
Have anything to do with an observation of stars and planets.
I am going to remove you.
Remove me. I don't care. Remove me and you lose your content for this stream because otherwise it's just going to be a lot of...
Sorry, you think you give me the content for this stream? You think you chanting through me non-stop is what my audience wants? No, I assure you they don't. They don't want your chanting nonsensical voice ignoring my refutation of your claim.
Because this is your business and me saying...
Yes, this is my business. You hand-waving saying you don't need a flat Earth for that when I've demonstrated to my audience a knowledge of the baseline acquisition you couldn't define is me winning.
Verbal diarrhea gives absolutely nothing but just show that you don't know what you're talking about.
You took too long to say plumb line or horizontal line. You took way too long. I don't want to hear you anymore. Just say it or don't say it.
It has nothing to do with the plumb line. How does it have anything to... I'm talking about looking at a star, looking at a planet, working out the angular separation between the two. We know the distance to Venus because we can use radar.
Stop.
We use radar.
Stop.
It's simple. We have the distance, we have the
stop.
angle.
We heard the first 5 times. Stop.
The distance to the sun.
Stop.
I never
Hello, can you stop? Can you stop? Are we going to be tolerated to respond to what you've just said, like we've done 5 times, or will you now talk?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you pop yourself on mute while I do so I know you're listening?
Fine.
Thank you. That means pop yourself on mute.
Sorry, I muted my mic. Okay.
No, pop yourself on mute in Discord. That's it. Like, what you did was talk about measuring an angle to a star. Then I asked you how you measured an angle and what an angle was. It's 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex. Now, your claim for this angle measurement to this star hasn't been defined in terms of how it's done. That was my first question to you. You did not answer. I have then told the audience that he's off mute. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe the audience would like to criticise me for being able to stop this guy doing that. Because right in the middle of my 6th attempt to contradict his claim, he's talking straight through the middle of me. No, you don't get to talk through me. You don't get to ask questions on the 6th attempt of pointing out that your claim included the angle measurement. You don't know how it's done. It was the first thing I asked you. I'm going to have to remove you because you are intolerable. You're not listening.
Please, may I just speak?
You're not listening to me.
And that does nothing.
You're not listening to me.
And that does nothing. May I speak?
No, you could listen. Can you listen?
I've listened.
You haven't listened. What was the last thing I said? What was the last thing I said?
So many people. Go.
What was the last thing I said? If you were listening.
I wasn't listening to you because I was trying to speak.
Yeah, so that's the problem. You keep asking for permission to speak and you're not listening to anything that comes back at you. It's a one-way street with you. You want to put out the claims and when they're refuted, you don't want to listen, you want to talk.
You asked how do I measure the angle between the sun and Venus? How do you measure it? You use a telescope, or you use a pointing device where you can have the sun directly in its line of sight, move it to Venus, have that directly in its line of sight. The angle at which that telescope or that device has moved will give you the angle. That's how you measure the angle.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
you. I heard you, and now you need to stop talking. Okay, I heard. He's going to keep on the verbal diarrhea non-stop. No one's going to get to refute that. Sorry. Okay. Are you under the misapprehension that a telescope is an angle measuring device?
You can measure the angle by the angle at which you turn it.
Right.
The angle at which you turn it is exactly the same as the angle at which the two things are separated.
My question again.
Basic.
All I hear is him telling me how basic stuff is when I ask him a question that he hasn't answered. Sorry, are you, for the second time, it's a yes or no closed question. Are you under the misapprehension that a telescope is an angle measuring device? Yes or no?
Yes.
You think a telescope measures angles? Okay.
Okay, there is literally, there are dials on it which will give you the angle at which you
Okay. So, citation, please. Citation.
The fact you don't understand that.
I heard. Citation, please.
I've used telescopes on my life.
No, not you. A citation for acquisition of angles with telescopes. Citation, please.
I don't need a citation.
Yeah, you do here. Yeah, when wankers talk shit, we ask them for citations. We don't just accept you telling us that you've used the telescope as an angle measuring device. That is not what a telescope is.
I didn't say a telescope.
Yeah, you did, Dumbo. That's precisely what you said.
Measuring devices in it.
Yeah, you said a telescope was an angle measuring device. I asked you if you were under the misapprehension if an angle measuring device was a telescope, and you said yes.
Follow you blindly. That is what's happening. That is what.
Sorry, are you just ad-homming me now, telling me that my audience follow me blindly when I can detail how an acquisition of an angle isn't done with a telescope?
It's
sigh for me, you crazy clown. Who is talking in G+? Shut up. It's enough with one guy talking through me constantly. Yeah, I don't need it extra from G+. Well, this guy does this constantly. Verbal diarrhea is his way through everything I say. No, clown shoes. A telescope is not an angle measuring device.
It's not an angle measuring device.
That's correct. You said it was and you got the angle with it because you're an idiot.
Measure angles.
Not with telescopes, you don't, you stupid clown. Like you said you would. When asked how you'll get this angle, you said you'd use a telescope because you're an idiot.
You are so obtuse, it's actually...
Sorry, no, an obtuse would be an angle. Are you going to get that obtuse from your telescope, you stupid clown? A telescope's not used for measuring angles. That's the fourth time, you stupid buffoon.
A thing that you don't understand that...
Right, I'm not going to be told I don't understand. By a clown that thinks that you measure angles with telescopes.
So simple. My telescope at home does that.
What, measure angles?
Yes, it hasn't...
The telescope measures angles?
On the mechanism used to turn the telescope itself, it has...
So that's not the telescope, then? So not the telescope. You're telling me that there's a piece of equipment you mount the telescope to that has angle measuring capabilities?
What?
You're telling me that you mount the telescope to a piece of equipment like an...
No, the telescope...
I haven't finished my sentence, you intolerable prick!
You said you...
Don't just stutter your way through the rest of it, you stupid clown. Yeah, that means shut up while I finish my sentence.
Stop calling me a clown.
Yeah, you are a clown. You've told the audience that you think telescopes measure angles. Then you've gone on to detail an equatorial mount, correct?
What? Say that again?
You are thick as shit. Do you understand the words thick as shit?
Call me that. Call me all you...
You are thick as shit. Do you understand my statement based on the examples of stupidity you have laid down for my audience?
Yeah, really.
Good. Now piss off. I'm sick of your verbal diarrhea. Come back a different day when you can tolerate listening to responses to your stupid claims.
Can I clarify something
What?
for myself?
Yeah.
So are you saying you're looking at something? Let's say I'm standing 10 meters away from you. You're looking at me through your telescope, and you turn around at Nathan. Let's say he's 90 degrees opposed to you. Are you telling that you're going to know how far Nathan away?
No, that's not how it works. You can find the angle separating them. If I know the distance to you, I can use trigonometry.
He'll need a flat Earth for that. Rebel.
We know the angle between
let me
Venus
shut Guy,
and
once you make the statement, somebody's going to want to respond to it. It doesn't work that you just get to make a claim and then indefinitely talk
you
through
do
everything.
that all the time, Nathan.
Like now,
okay, go ahead.
like now. Yeah, you're going to need a flat Earth for that.
No, you don't. You don't need any Earth. You don't need anything. You can do it in open, complete, empty nothingness.
Oh, so what does this prove then? Oh, God damn it. So if it's not in reference to the ground, that would be the horizontal baseline you established when you acquired the angle that I've claimed you absolutely do need and will be acquired when you measure this angle. Other than that, you say it doesn't need Earth to prove anything. So this is a claim for what exactly? Distance to the sun from where? The middle of space?
In the live stream are completely like, oh yeah, Nathan's so good. No, you're just talking over me. That's all it's doing.
Sorry, is that projection? While you talk through every single response you've had so far, you're going to claim that I'm talking through you when mid-sentence, every single attempt to refute things you haven't listened to, you've talked through me. So this is a typical classic case of projection.
How is that projection?
Because you keep talking through me in the middle of my sentences. For example, when I say, like I'm saying now, you'll need a flat Earth for that, the audience can hear you talking through the top of me. That's you talking through me in the middle of this sentence that still hasn't concluded yet. And there you are again talking through it. Do you understand how that is projection of you talking through me?
I just said okay. That's all I said.
It's not okay. It's the behaviour of a triggered, fundamentalist, religious, globe-believing zealot. That's what it is. Definitely not okay. Behaviour of a wanker. Like now, like you talking through me now and projecting that I'm doing that to you. That's the behaviour of a complete wanker with a zealotry belief in globe Earth. It's not the first time we've experienced wankers. You're not the first wanker here.
Okay. Cool.
It's not okay. You keep saying okay. Like it's okay to talk through me pointing out that when you acquired the angle, you will have established a horizontal baseline to get it. That proves the flat Earth. When I point that out, you talk through me like you're doing now and don't listen. It's just not tolerable for you to listen how your claim of an angle to get the distance to the sun proves a flat Earth when you establish a horizontal baseline. Instead of tolerating it, you'll talk through every single word of it like that's going to defeat my argument.
I'm giving you a minute to speak so long as I get a minute.
You don't have to give me permission, it's my show. So when I start telling you that you'll need a flat Earth for that and you start talking through me, it's not heard by the audience. I already know that you're going to talk through me, so I just shut your line down so you can't do it anymore. So they hear me refuting your claim without interruption from a wanker.
Amen.
This interruption that when I open the line, the audience can hear you are definitely doing.
For a minute.
You hear that? That's him interrupting every single thing I say so he doesn't have to listen to it. And he believes in his stupidity that by talking through it, he won't ever have to respond to it. You'll need a flat Earth for that angle measurement.
And I was saying why you don't need. May I explain why you don't?
When you did, you told us Earth wasn't relevant, so it doesn't prove distance to the sun from Earth, does it?
When I said...
When you stuttered a response, when you said it isn't relevant to the ground. Well, it's a distance to the sun from Earth's surface, therefore debunking your own claim if it's not relevant to the ground.
Trigonometry. It's trigonometry.
From the ground to give you distance to the sun?
It is so basic.
From the ground to the sun?
How you're not listening.
He's not listening to me. He's saying it's trigonometry. Yeah, for you and your distance from the ground to the sun, you've simultaneously told us it's got nothing to do with the ground.
I said it's got nothing to do with the shape of the ground underneath you.
It has, because you're establishing a horizontal baseline to get the angle. Therefore, Earth is flat in order to do this. But like the other 7 times I've attempted to tell you this, you've talked straight through the middle of it like you are now, so that you don't have to listen to it. Instead of listening to it, you'll ask for permission to talk so you don't have to listen to me telling you, instead just the audience as a close your line, because you won't tolerate hearing it, that it does require a flat earth to acquire this angle. You establish a horizontal baseline to measure the angle. It's not just a case of pointing a telescope at it. Telescopes aren't measuring angles. That's not what a telescope does. Maybe you'd like to go onto the equatorial mount and we can talk about what the equator is if you listen to a single word I'm saying, but instead this is what you're doing. Talking with verbal diarrhea so you don't have to listen to anything I respond to you with.
Done the measurements myself.
See, just talking to you. I'm not listening to you because you're responding in the middle of my refutation.
Your reputation?
Refutation. Refuting your nonsense about angle measurements not being in regards to the ground, then not in regards to the shape of the ground, even though the shape of the ground is used to establish a horizontal baseline. It's used in navigation. It's used when you acquire an angle that's two straight lines. And as with the other 7 attempts to tell you this, you are going to talk straight through the middle of it. And I am now demonstrating to my audience that all he's doing is talking through every single time I tell him a flat earth's needed. So he doesn't have to hear it. He goes blah, 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 straight through the top of it.
It's impossible for me to get a word in when you're talking constantly. You literally...
While I'm talking constantly, you need to get a word in while I'm talking.
You don't stop.
It's not just you projecting that you're interrupting me constantly. It's actually in the middle of my sentence, you needing to get a word in to the middle of my sentences. Yeah, seems perfectly reasonable. You complete wanker. No, I won't tolerate you getting a word in the middle of my sentences when I'm refuting your angle claim that required a flat earth to establish a horizontal baseline in order to measure the angle. That needed a flat earth and was in reference to the surface for both your distance claim and the acquisition of the horizontal baseline to get the angle in the first place. It definitely refers to the ground, and the first thing you'll do is establish a horizontal baseline. That's a flat earth.
It's not how it works, man. It's literally, if you actually were listening to me, it's not how it works. I'm getting up an image for you of what I'm talking about, and then you can probably actually understand what I'm meaning. Maybe.
How dare you? How dare you suggest that I don't understand this crap? Do you know me? Do you have any idea what I do and don't know as you divine my thoughts in your crystal ball?
Well, by the fact that I've just explained to you what I was like.
No, what you did was talk through me non-stop. You think you explained something while I was in the middle of a sentence? Did your explanation come as a word in the middle of my sentence? Yeah, it did. So you haven't explained jack. I listened to what you claimed, and then I refuted it.
You didn't refute anything.
Yeah, I did. You'll need a flat earth for the angle measurement acquisition. It requires you establish a horizontal baseline.
What? No.
What? Yeah, that's you being deaf and not listening to the 8th repetition of the absolute requirement for the acquisition of a horizontal baseline in order to measure an angle to these stars. You absolutely unequivocally will require Earth to be flat to measure this angle after you establish a horizontal baseline.
You don't need a horizontal ground underneath you. Stop trying to get me to, like...
So that's a hand wave dismissal. No, you won't need a horizontal ground beneath you. Stop trying to get me to... No. That hand wave dismissal followed by ad hominem won't cut it. You need to detail why you don't need one by detailing what you do to establish that angle measurement. And it isn't pointing a telescope at the stars. You've already attempted to overcome this once.
I'm looking up an image to show what I'm talking about.
What tool do you use to measure angles to stars? It's not a telescope.
Anything that you can turn. I said any sort of...
Citation, please, for your claim that you can measure star angles with anything that turns, end quote. Citation, please, you complete clown.
Image,
Nathan, can I tell you something, Nathan?
No, you can shut up. No, you can shut up while you're making things worse, Rebel.
I've just sent an image in the chat.
I'm trying to clarify.
You can shut up. What part of you can shut up? Don't you understand, Rebel? When you were frustrated with your globe believer, would it have been helpful if I started chatting as well? No. Just shut up.
I'm trying to clarify something. Nathan.
You could after the 5th time of me telling you to shut up. Or you could just shut up.
or you can just let me help you guys.
Or you could continually do this, Rebel. 6th time. Just
Rebel,
shut
also,
up.
sorry, I told you to shut up earlier. That was rude of me. I didn't mean to. Sorry.
You don't get to tell anyone to shut up here. You're just a clown who thinks telescopes measure angles. So, no, you won't be giving anybody permission to do anything here, Clown Shoes. You think angles are required by telescopes.
Oh.
Yeah, oh, yeah, you are that thick. That's correct. That is what you said. Then we got onto the mounting system. That would be an equatorial mount. We still haven't progressed beyond that. That knowledge I had of the mounting system for the telescope, not the telescope. You didn't understand that. Maybe we'd like to detail what an equatorial mount is, something that you clearly know all about.
An equatorial mount is literally just a mount for a telescope.
Really?
You can move.
Oh, right. What does the equatorial bit mean?
It uses angles. Well,
oh, right. So you understand that.
So you've just disproven
my
yourself.
friend, I'm in the middle of refuting something that you've just spoken about. This would be me talking while you're talking again. Maybe you'd like to project how you need to get a word in the middle of my sentence. Yeah, I'm leading you in regards to the equatorial mount you didn't know about, and I specifically detailed when you told us angles come from telescopes. Just shut up, sit down, and understand that that term you didn't use and I did is going to get discussed by me and not you, while you shut up and listen, if you can tolerate it.
Sorry that I didn't know.
Yeah, just don't be sorry. Just shut up. Go on mute.
Okay, I'll go on mute as long as you let me speak on.
Good dog. While I detail that the equatorial mount is a concept that's come from the equatorial plane because of the angle measurements to the stars. Yeah, they're done off the equatorial plane. That's a flat surface. There he goes again, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe it's my mute button that's causing this problem, with him talking through the middle of my explanation of the flat Earth required for this concept called the equator and the equatorial plane that will be used to measure the angles to the stars. That's right, you need a flat plane to do that. And has he listened to a single word to make this a reasonable back and forth discussion with me, the knowledgeable one, being listened to? No! It's him verbal diarrheaing through the top of every word I've said. So he doesn't have to respond to it after it's been stated. Maybe he'll tell me that he's given explanations with his word in the middle of my sentence about the equatorial plane he's going to ignore now. Equatorial plane, my friend.
Forget an equatorial mount. This is what you need. You need a
Sorry, I didn't ask that. I pointed out how the concept of the equator has come from angle measurement capable planes. That's the equatorial plane. I'm not asking you to ignore it and hand wave it when I've detailed to my audience that you talking through it doesn't justify ignoring it. I'll just keep repeating it while you attempt to move on. My audience knows I've said it. You don't, because you think talking through it will mean you don't have to respond to it. That doesn't work
I'm explaining that you don't need an equatorial mount. I'm explaining that you just need a protractor and a...
So why a protractor?
You just need a telescope.
Oh, a protractor, an angle measuring device.
Yes. Yes. So you can measure the angle which you turn your telescope, and that will be the angle of separation between the sun and Venus.
And
because you will be pointing from one to moving to pointing to the other.
I understand. I heard. I know what a protractor is. You can shut up after you've made your claim. So do you just hold the protractor any which way you like? Do you just hold it in any old orientation? I haven't finished my question. Before I've even finished the question, this intolerable globe-believing muppet has to interject. You done?
Yes.
Can you hold the protractor any old way you like?
No, you have to put it at the center of where you are, like the pivot point for where you're turning the telescope, and that will give you the angular separation between the sun and Venus, because you'll be pointing at the sun, move it, turn to Venus. Because it's at the pivot point, it will give you the angle from where you started to the angle to where you finished.
7 times. I heard 7 times.
It doesn't.
Excuse me. So you have to level the mount.
What?
Every time I point out with that basic general description of how this is done, I get a, what? You are thick as shit. You haven't got the slightest idea what you're talking about. In order to use this mount, you have to level it.
What do you mean level it? How does that have anything to do with anything?
What? Establishing a horizontal baseline? The thing I've said about 8 times?
You can have...
Sorry, why are you talking through me? You've asked me what it has to do with it. I'm telling you, and before I get through the third word, you're talking.
Go ahead.
You don't need permission, you stupid clown. I need you to shut your mouth and listen while I say, establishing a horizontal baseline? What's that got to do with the ground?
Yeah. You can have...
Yeah. Suck my balls. That's establishing the ground as flat.
You can have...
Yeah, I can establish the ground as flat. It's called a horizontal baseline. I've mentioned it 10 times. And all you've done is talk through it and hand wave it. Yeah, that proves Earth's flat.
I didn't hand wave, I didn't do...
Yeah, you did. Now you're telling me how you didn't hand wave. As I tell you, it proves Earth's flat. All you're doing is telling me what you haven't done in unreasonable discussion. I don't care how unreasonable you've been. The audience heard me pointing out how the acquisition of a horizontal baseline requires a flat Earth.
Oh, my Lord.
Is that your rebuttal? Oh, my Lord. Is that as good as you've got when you can't talk through it?
No, it's because this is the 5th time we've had to say this, okay? If you take any sort of ground that you put in your tripod on, there you go. That doesn't mean that the Earth is flat. It just means the ground...
So will a curved ground give you a horizontal baseline?
The Earth is so huge.
So will a curved ground give you a horizontal baseline?
The base area, or the area of the base of the tripod is so small compared to the surface area of the Earth that the curvature experience is so negligible that that you don't need to count it in this equation.
Oh, really? Is that so? So you're telling me that when you actually use stars for practically navigating with them, you don't establish a horizontal baseline?
You don't. You can have...
Yeah, you can and you do and you will and you must. A horizontal baseline. Something you're denying. That's why you've had people in the background pipe up. Because they realise how fundamentally retarded you are for saying it. Yeah, you definitely need a horizontal baseline.
What?
Yeah, there it is again. What? What are you talking about, Flat Earther, with far more knowledge about this subject than me? What? Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. That's why you're asking me what.
You are so...
Right, you're gonna insult me now, clown? Tell me what I am while you laugh about your ignorance? You don't know what you're babbling about. This requires a flat Earth in order to do it. I've said it about 10 times. You've talked through every single rendition of it.
May I start my explanation all the way from...
You've already given it. I heard it. I refuted it. So short pause, can I rinse and repeat the same claim again? No, I've refuted it. So no, we're not going to hear you rinse and repeat the exact same shite we've heard over and over again when I've refuted it and pointed out it proves a flat Earth.
You didn't refute any...
Yeah, it did. It needed a horizontal baseline acquisition in order to measure the angle. First, you had to establish a horizontal baseline.
You need a flat Earth to have...
Yeah, you do, to establish a horizontal baseline. Keep telling you, and all you do is hand wave it and tell me you don't.
I didn't hand wave shit.
Yeah, you did. You've hand waved it. Because you haven't told me how you establish a horizontal baseline for either the equatorial mount or for the protractor.
Forget the equatorial mount.
Why? You were the one who claimed it. You were the one who brought it up and didn't name what it was. It's your claim and now we've got to forget it? What, because we're going to be establishing baselines for angle measurements? No, they prove flat Earth, my friend, so we're not going to forget anything that you claimed. Why would you claim it if you want us to forget it? Is it just stupid, bark, idiot nonsense day where you come and bark nonsense at us and then when we prove it proves a flat Earth, you tell us to forget it? No, I won't. I'll labour it. Labour the fact that these angles prove a flat Earth.
They don't prove anything about the shape of the Earth. They don't prove anything about the shape of the Earth.
Oh, and yet you were going to claim that it proved the distance to the sun from the surface of Earth?
Yeah, how does that have to...
Yeah! So it doesn't prove anything about the surface of Earth, but you came with a claim about the distance from the surface, you stupid clown! Yeah, you are relinquishing the shite you've had defeated because it doesn't prove your claim that involves your globe surface and the distance to the sun thereof. Yeah, so basically your claim is now refuted because you're not claiming it's got anything to do with the surface distance measurement.
You are looking at Venus. You are looking at the sun. You know the angle between... You can work out the angle between the two. How
And you need a flat Earth to do it. First, you establish a horizontal baseline, and then you measure your angle with respect to that horizontal baseline. You can't do it if Earth has a curved surface, because you can't establish a horizontal baseline from a curved surface.
Instead of using jargon that you've thought up.
Not jargon. Terms used in celestial navigation. This isn't jargon. This is navigation. Celestial navigation.
Oh my lord.
Oh my lord, no, celestial navigation. Just words that you don't know have been labelled jargon because you don't know what they mean, making you a clown. Someone who's come to talk about angle measurements to stars, but then says, oh my god, the jargon, when he hears celestial navigation terms.
No, I wasn't talking, I was talking about...
You called it jargon because you don't know what it means.
Very much. When you say horizontal baseline, are you meaning that the ground that you are standing on is flat?
This is your claim for your telescope and your angles to Venus. How do you establish your tool, telescope,
yes, what it
as
is doing
horizontal?
Is proving that the ground...
Oh my God, middle of us question about his claim. So he's flipped the burden and asked me how I use it as a claim. It's not my claim, it's his. So suddenly I've got to start justifying this claim, Mr. Burden of Proof Reversal Fallacy. It's your claim. You tell me how you establish horizontal to acquire the angle distance and variation from Sun to Venus. It's your claim.
Yes, you've not understood it.
No, I've told you how you establish a horizontal baseline. And a horizontal baseline is going to be required to either level the equatorial mount or use your protractor. I understand how it's done, and I have used your claim to prove a flat Earth. That's what I've done.
It doesn't prove that the Earth is flat.
Yeah, it does. You can't establish a horizontal baseline from a curved surface. This cannot be done on a globe. Before you measure the angle, you must establish a horizontal baseline. You can't do that with a globe Earth surface. It must be flat to do that.
No, okay, this is one misconception that you have. And
no, it's not a misconception. It's an aspect of celestial navigation. It's not jargon. It's an aspect of celestial navigation. And you, an utter clown, isn't going to be telling me that it's a concept I'd understand when it's a well-documented fact of celestial navigation.
What is this well-known fact?
Go and look it up, you stupid clown, like I've had to.
What is the...
Do you want me to educate you so you can talk through every bit of that as well? No! It is a fact, not jargon, not some interpretation of mine, something that you don't know and you need to go away and study because you are ignorant. I am not going to sit here with constant interruptions from you, the ignorant clown who only wants to pull apart what I tell him when I attempt to fulfill your request to educate your dumb, ignorant ass. No, I won't. What I'll tell you is it is, and anybody can double-check, a fact that you will establish a horizontal baseline to perform angle measurements to stars, and it is used today in celestial navigation. It does require Earth to be flat, regardless of the conceptual use of an equatorial plane or the acquisition of a horizontal baseline with the use of the horizon, all of which requires Earth to be flat, none of which you understand, and I'm damn well not going to be interrupted constantly while I fulfill your request to educate your ignorant ass about these things. Bugger off and learn it yourself, you stupid ignorant idiot.
You don't need to have the horizon as your, as your reference point.
Oh, really? So in a sextant, what are the two mirrors in the sextant
It is angular separation.
What are they called, the mirrors in a sextant? If you don't need the horizon, given that mariners and people on aeroplanes have a sextant stashed away so they can do celestial navigation if they get lost, what is the mirror that you will establish horizontal with in this tool used in celestial navigation daily on planes and boats?
Oh, it is looking at the sky, man.
It's looking at the horizon. The mirror you didn't know the name of is the horizon mirror.
How?
Sorry, you're going to ask me a question, Dumbo, who's just said you don't need the horizon?
You don't need the horizon.
Given that the plane that's in the sky above your head right now has got a sextant on board with a horizon mirror in it, you don't think that you need the horizon?
Sextant.
So you're just talking through me. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Globe Earth Wanker talking through every word that refutes his stupid nonsense. He said you don't need the horizon. I'm pointing out that sextants have a horizon mirror on it, and it is absolutely how you establish horizontal with that tool.
No.
Yes! Not no hand wave. Yes. Fact of celestial navigation you don't know.
No, sorry. I'd read a message in the Discord chat. And
I don't give a shit what you've read in Discord chat. The tool used for establishing a horizontal baseline is a sextant. It has a horizon mirror. It's a labelled part of the tool. You're telling my audience you don't need the horizon, and this process has a tool with the words horizon mirror printed on it. Yes, you do need the horizon.
No, you don't. You have a telescope. You have a protractor. You have a fiducial marker. We know the distance to Venus using radar when it's at greatest elongation. Greatest elongation means that the angle between Venus and the sun and Venus and us is a right angle, which means that there will be a right angle triangle
between
formed.
us. Sorry, just 1 second. You said it had nothing to do with the ground.
It has nothing to do with the ground. It has absolutely.
So it's not the angle between Venus and us, then.
No. Let me post in the
Let me just point out what a double-speaking, contradictory, fundamentalist religious zealot you are. When your argument loses and I point out it requires a flat Earth, you tell us it has nothing to do with the ground. Now you've rinsed and repeated back to it does have everything to do with the ground, because you're going to use Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion and its scaling values and a superimposition of that R value for Earth onto Venus to give you scaling values, to give you the claimed radar timing distances, to tell your audience that you know how far it is when you get a return signal in the predetermined Kepler-based orbital motion scaling values, but only if you use Christian Huygens' superimposition of R onto Venus. That's how you'll get it in your radar timings. So I can undo every word of your nonsense claim based on your requirement not only for a horizon to acquire R, so that you can impose it onto Venus when you use Kepler's orbital motion. So no, you don't know the distance based on radar return. You'd have to have the values confirmed for the R value to get those timings. And you don't have them, we have debunked them. The R value measurement came from a value using the horizon also, something you say isn't necessary. Well, the radar timing distances have got R in the maths, so you absolutely require the horizon for that timing also.
You don't need an R value. You don't need a horizon.
Yes, you do. It's in Kepler's third law, and it's superimposed onto Venus by Christian Huygens.
No, it's not Kepler.
Yes, it is! Don't hand-wave what I absolutely know to be true in heliocentric nonsense.
We use radar.
You use R for the timings for the radar.
No.
Yes. Your scaling distances and values to predict how long the radar return will be uses R.
Can I refute what you just said?
It's a fact. The timing values used for your claimed radar are superimposed based on Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion and Christian Huygens using the R value to give you the scaling distances to know the presupposed timings of the radar return. That is a fact.
What? No.
What? Yeah, you don't know your own bloody heliocentric claim. This is a fact. You need R to give you the presupposed return value timings. That's a fact.
Doesn't do anything other than just show that you don't know what you're talking about. When you have...
Suck my balls, tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I've given you a detailed rendition of how you got those timing values for that radar. You've ignored every word of it and talked through every word of it and then just said I don't understand. What a bloody outrage. Yes, I do understand. I not only understand how they got the values, how they got the scales, who gave them you, why they gave them you, and the end purpose they were trying to achieve by doing it. It wasn't anything to do with radar return signals and everything to do with when Easter would fall. That's why all of these scaling values have been applied, as he talks through me again.
Why don't you go learn?
What?
Yeah, what a crazy notion that you should go away and learn the crap you're spurting out. That's all you're doing. You're just spurting crap all over us. You haven't got a clue about your religion. You don't know about any of this stuff, and you feel the need to talk constantly while people try and educate you on it. Who's Christian Huygens?
Uh-oh.
What? Are you asking me? Are you asking,
Who is Christian Huygens?
Huygens and Huygens principles are like used fundamentally in physics.
For?
Like he was a physicist. Huygens.
No, he fucking wasn't. What did he do?
You don't know.
What did he do? You say it's used all the time.
It was to do with Huygens principles were to do with Doppler shift. It was to do with angular. It was to do with with light, where you have a object moving away from you. There will be blue shift rather. When they're moving towards you, it's red shift. You can work that. You can look using. Even when it's like when you have an ambulance coming towards you, you have the sound.
You don't have to dumb down Doppler. You understand what Doppler is here, Dumbo? Yeah, what did he do in regards to this specific return signal from radar? Where does Christian Huygens come in? I've detailed it 3 times.
It has slight distortion because Venus is moving away from us.
What does Huygens have to do with the return signal for radar? 3rd time.
It's slightly distorted. It's slightly longer because Venus is moving away from us.
Are you having a fucking laugh?
Okay.
Is that what you think?
Explain to me why I'm...
Sorry. Let me get this straight.
Let me get this straight.
You think Venus is subject to the Doppler effect? Is that correct?
Because it's moving away from us.
So you think Venus is moving away from us?
Yes, when it's rotating, when it's going around the sun, it's moving faster than us.
Right. You are the dumbest glober to come here.
Nathan, he's confusing Christian Huygens with Doppler. You understand it? Two different.
That is
right?
true. Huygens' principle is he had diffraction. He was diffraction, wasn't he? It was where you have
4th time.
Light as
fourth time asking the dumb globe believer. In regards to your claim of a return signal for radar, where does Huygens come in? Do you understand my question? Not random things that Huygens did.
I just want to clarify.
My God, you dumb shit. You need to shut up. You need to shut up and listen to the end of the question, you dumb shit.
Huygens' principle was that every point on the wavefront is its new...
He's just going to waffle through the top of me indefinitely. Start at the beginning. Won't listen. 5th attempt.
Go.
Where does Huygens come into your claim of the return signal for radar? Do you know, yes or no? Don't just spew stuff about Huygens.
I got muddled up with Doppler, so I'm sorry, first of all. I got muddled up with Doppler. Huygens' principle, I don't know how it applies. I haven't researched that.
Dumb shit. Go away and learn your own fucking religion then, you stupid clown. Do you know now why I'm calling you a dumb clown who doesn't know anything?
Huygens' principle...
Don't spout out stuff about Huygens' principle. We don't want to know. We understand how this is directly related to the radar signal return value. We know, you don't.
It's so negligible. Oh, my...
So what is negligible? The association with Huygens in your claim you don't know? No, it's fundamental to the claim you've made. I understand the claim you've made. I understand it from top to bottom and the history of it. You haven't got the slightest idea and started talking about Doppler. Because you are thick.
I'm thick, am I?
Yes! Without question. You are stupid and ignorant, not only of flat Earth, but of your own stupid religious belief in a globe. You haven't got the slightest idea about any of the things you're talking about. You've got a vague notion of them all, making you a very dangerous man.
Seriously, I am thick when I got straight A stars in my...
Yes, you are thick. Don't appeal to your education in terms of what you got with a comprehensive exam at the end of it. That doesn't make you bright.
No, but you said I was...
Yeah, no, it doesn't make you bright. You are still demonstrably stupid. You've come here and demonstrated that to my audience. I hope you're proud.
Really? So...
Yes, really! I asked you how Huygens had anything to do with the return radar signal, and you didn't know. I had detailed it 4 times prior to asking you, but because
Nathan,
like now, you couldn't shut your mouth and listen, you didn't hear 4 times me repeating precisely what Christian Huygens had to do with it. Literally, you're so dumb that even having been told what Christian Huygens had to do with it, you still couldn't repeat it 2 minutes later, because instead of flapping your gums, yeah, that's what you were doing. You weren't listening. I told you what he had to do with it. And even now you're still talking. That's the sign of somebody very ignorant. Somebody that doesn't understand when they should be listening. They think it's their turn to get a word in, end quote. No, dumb shit. You needed to be listening to me. Because now, embarrassingly, I've told you 4 times what Christian Huygens had to do with your claim of radar return, and you couldn't repeat what I said. And then you appealed to your comprehensive exam results. So what, you're really good at comprehending what Christian Huygens did? Is this you being good at getting A stars in comprehension? You couldn't comprehend me telling you what Christian Huygens did 2 minutes after I told you you didn't know.
Because I got muddled up with Doppler. That was my bad.
What, you were talking when you should have been listening? My bad? No, just dumb and ignorant. Maybe appeal to your comprehensive exam results when you didn't comprehend.
Yeah.
Like now, you managed to talk rather than comprehend what the hell Christian Huygens had to do with your radar return
So when
signal.
I said that I calculated those things...
this is you flapping your gums when you shouldn't be listening. Listen up. Instead of talking, Dumbo, you need to listen. When somebody more educated than you in your own religious belief tells you, like now, you're flapping your gums. Not listening to what Christian Huygens did in regards to your R-based value.
I'm still waiting.
You're still talking! What? You stupid, ignorant, globe-believing muppet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, muttering now, you stupid wanker.
Ooh.
Do you want to continually mutter through me because you've been annihilated and demonstrate to be completely ignorant of your own globe faith? You think that's your cue to constantly mutter through me?